Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a great...
My goal is not to break you. My goal is to make you harder to break.
Comes back, number 6.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
Touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
Off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Sets his speed, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton. Caught! Touchdown! Chargers!
Grab your lunch boxes and go attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Thunder Down Under and Chargers fans across the world. Welcome to another episode of the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. Yes, my dulcet tones are the first in your ears tonight for us anyway, as Andy has taken just a short leave of absence. We're hoping he will be back on deck sometime soon, but I'm joined, as I always am, by my compatriot, my lovely friend, my longtime friend, my gorgeous friend. A lot of love tonight. Alistair Lloyd, how are you?
Good, man. I've lost a bald brother on the podcast, so I'm feeling exposed. But I missed the memo that we've got the same shade of Chargers gear, so I'm feeling warm and ready, mate. This has been one of the most momentous, seismic 7 days of Chargers football I can remember, and let's get into it. Are people listening? Have people calmed down? Are people feeling good? Athea, one of our great listeners, he's ready to crack a Foster's beer, so he's pumped.
Already. Yeah,
he's pumped. But how have you been feeling?
Oh gosh, I'm doing dry August at the moment, so I haven't drunk in about drunk alcohol. That is in about 3 weeks, and I tell you what. When I opened my phone up that morning and saw that a patella tendon had gone bang, I almost cracked a can before going to teach students, I must admit. I almost lost it. So my reaction to that was terrible. Season gone, game over, done, who cares about it? I was actually upset. I was close to tears, I would suggest, because not only are we losing one of the best left tackles, we just paid the man a lot of money, and there just seems to be this curse of patella tendons going bang after being paid a lot of money. Alistair, how did you react? Because we were both in a bit of a bad way, actually.
Yeah, and I want the listeners to be clear that it's not just a season-ending injury. We have spent a bit of time on this show talking about the patella tendon rupture and how serious that is. And if you follow us on Twitter, you will have seen me post a lot about it being a career-ending injury for a lot of people who've suffered it in the past. You referred to JC Jackson fleetingly. There are others, Victor Cruz, Gerard Mayo. You look at the success stories from this injury and you have to search pretty hard, but Jimmy Graham came back and made a couple Pro Bowls, and the right tackle for the Cleveland Browns, Jack Conklin, is still playing in the league, just not at the same level he used to. So Chargers fans, that's why we're so upset. It's not just that you paid him. He's probably the second best player on the team, or that he's out for this year. It's this, I think, Jack, this fundamentally shifts the midterm outlook for the team. And you better be watching Josh Simmons, the left tackle for the Chiefs, listeners. He was a first-round pick. He suffered this exact injury last year in October. Apparently, he's looking excellent in training camp. So maybe it can happen, Jack. Maybe he can come back and be the same guy.
Oh, I just, you talk of Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's obviously plays a completely different position. You'd argue far more athletic body in terms of Jimmy Graham. Not saying that Slater's not athletic. He's athletic in his own way. But I think there was a short video I watched on social media that the ligament itself goes under something like 2,000 pounds of force or something like that. Slater is a player that can squat something around there, 800, 900, 1,000 pounds. That was part of his game. The strength that he had in his lower body, and that computed into a really strong upper body as well. And he was so quick laterally and also vertically up and down too. It's a killer. And I think, Alistair, am I right to say that there is a clause that if he's not on the roster come the 3 days or 3 days after the new league year in 2026 is that all of his contract is waived. Is that right? I think we were sharing something offline. So as you were saying, there's a very real reason, a very real situation where Slater might not actually be a Charger in 26, depending on how his rehab goes.
It's
that's
how
a big
the contract has
organizational
been
call.
built. There's a
That's a
potential,
big organizational
apparently.
call.
Kyle posted this. You can check his article out, but yes, there's potentially a way to save some money, 26 million or thereabouts, if he's not on the roster on the third day of the new league year. But you ask how I felt. I couldn't help but think, Jack, it just came to me. Jim Harbaugh's always talking about the friggin' the glide theory. You know, you start on the runway, you get the plane going down the tarmac. And Chargers fans were feeling great with that Hall of Fame game with the Lions. We're suddenly getting the ascent. Keenan signs with the team. We play so well. And then the plane hits turbulence and crashes into the Pacific Ocean.
I actually don't think it's hitting turbulence. I think you're losing an engine there, actually. Yeah, you've lost an engine and it's just
a bird's flown into the fucking propeller and...
Well, do we have Sully in Harbour? That's the thing, you know.
Yes,
do we have?
I like it.
Do we have Sully? You know, that's the thing, and I would lead to this injury happens 2 years ago. It is a season ender, but I guess let's talk about this manoeuvring, right? So clearly, Joe Alt, I think both you and I suggested that it was the move. Some people would disagree. Some people would perhaps think about moving Becton out to left tackle and seeing what he does. I think you and I were in agreement, though, that Alt slips out left. Maybe that was, gonna happen anyway. I mean, maybe he is the future left tackle, given what Slater is, even though he signed a 5-year deal. And then we've got Trey Pipkins that has been named the starter at right tackle. How does that sit with you?
We have an information gap. That's the problem, right? Because we're not at training camp seeing these guys. And if they're looking at it and they're saying, we think Pipkins is better than Sawyer, I guess who am I to doubt them? They give them their professionals. But I thought, to me, the attraction of maybe giving Sawyer a chance because of the transformation of his done to his body this offseason, and the fact he's still a young player, maybe by giving him an opportunity, there's a possibility to hit a higher ceiling. We know what Trey Pipkins is, right? He's entering his 7th year in the league. We've seen him play. I feel like we know he's a below average right tackle, whereas Sawyer is that mystery box. Maybe he could be better, maybe he couldn't. What do you think?
Oh, well, Pipkins starting is just, it feels like Groundhog Day again. Granted, Pipkins last year was playing right guard, where I think he was completely out of position. Is he a completely different player with a huge man next to him? Listen, I don't think the pairing of a guard to a tackle necessarily makes that much of a difference sometimes, because a tackle is normally out on an island against a pass rusher most of the time. Whereas I think perhaps a good tackle with a poor guard can sometimes improve them. So if we've seen Pipkins with a fairly serviceable rookie Joe Alt tackle, I don't know if we're going to see much else from him. But just on these numbers, I was looking at, Mekhi Becton's best season, was his 2024 Philly season per PFF. His total offensive grade was around 75, but his 2020, his rookie year playing at the Jets, he was in that green zone. He was in that 70, 75, 76 for run blocking, pass blocking, and overall offense. Whereas Trey Pipkins has never, ever entered that over 70 grade any time in his career. The closest he got was 2021, but he only played 173 snaps. Whereas Mekhi, when he was rookie, played close to 700. So there is a bit of a question. Why don't you move Becton out to right tackle? Or has Becton just changed his body so much and he's so confident at right guard that we don't put him out there and maybe insert Sawyer at right guard, which apparently that's where he's kind of been thinking he's going to be, Al.
Well, right now we don't know because Becton's not on the field either. So he's been sitting off for 2.5 weeks. So it's all looking a little bit shaky on the offensive line. But why don't I put something to you? Because I think this is the big decision. They've moved Alt to the left side. He's a, top 5 pick, so someone who can play the position. You're the GM, you're Harbaugh, and you've now had this happen. What strategy are you taking to approaching this season and the offensive line? There are guys out there on other teams, right? Ryan wrote an article, if we wanted to do a trade, would we spend some money to get a Calvin Beecham from the Cardinals or Andrew Wiley from the Commanders? Are you looking to make a move to try and win the Super Bowl, or are you thinking that's no longer realistic with Slater and we should maybe just sit and watch and make do, reassess at the end of the year depending on how his injury's going?
It's so hard, right? Because, of course, the first thing you want to do is try and fill that hole, and you go, you make that reactive decision. And history would tell us that when you make reactive decisions, generally based on emotion, they don't play out particularly well. So do you trust in your process? Do you trust in Ortiz? Do you trust in the depth, so-called depth that you think you've got? And are they sitting there going, this is why we didn't trade Trey Pipkins. This is why we didn't trade him. This is what we've got. We've got a guy with 6 years of experience. A lot of those are starting. He's played a lot of snaps. He knows Herbert. He knows the offense now. He knows the organization. He doesn't have to learn names. He doesn't have to learn to go where to poo. Which is the one thing I always worry when I start a new job somewhere is where am I going to go to the bathroom? Anyway.
O-linemen just do it on the field, man. O-line just, they go on the field.
So do you just go, you trust the process and you maybe reconsider after week 4 to see what's going on? But all signs would point to that the way the team is performing as a whole in terms of culturally, winning 2 preseason games, and yes, they don't mean much, but the way the players play does mean a lot. So do you just stick with the process and go, because again, if something happens, someone else gets injured, they get replaced. What is that saying to the guys deeper down the depth chart? What is that saying to your rookies? What is that saying to your undrafted free agents? They're saying that, well, we don't actually really trust you. We're going to go and, gamble again. Or do you go, no, we've picked you for a reason. You're going to get on the field a little earlier than expected, but we trust you. That's also a cultural thing as well. I think have I answered that, or have I sort of wiggled my way through there?
What they've done is what you've spoken to. What they've ultimately done is added a veteran tackle whose name is David Sharp, and I knew nothing about him, a former Raiders 4th rounder who was with the Ravens for a couple of years. So they've added someone who's played in the NFL, and it seems to me it's pretty clear they're going to, at least to start the season, go with what they have internally. My concern is that Pipkins in this Roman scheme is going to be a liability in the running game in particular, and is going to find it difficult to protect for a bit longer on those play action passes. It's all well and good in a Kellen Moore scheme, or when, you're dropping back in the shotgun and getting the ball off quickly. Bit harder. This scheme asks a bit more of the tackles, I think. Time to throw is a bit longer than in previous seasons. So, yeah, hard news, guys. So we're just working through it live. We haven't had a chance to talk about it for a little bit, right?
Well, I just feel Pipkins has never had that play strength to, as you said, to just hold for that extra half a second to a second on those really deep dropbacks. Whereas Slater in particular just had such strong hands and was able to control that rusher for just that little bit more time. Whereas I feel like Pipkins has always been the guy that takes the hit and kind of is always, backwards. There's not a lot of attacking power there because he's always lacked that play strength. But let's go to maybe some more positive news. I don't know if it's positive for you, Alistair, because you might have to eat some Keenan Allen humble pie a little bit. But yeah, we lose a Slater, but we gain a Slayer. Granted that it's an older Slayer, and he's gone out into the world and figured things are not as good as we thought they were over that hill there, and he's come back to where the grass was greenest, to where it all started. Keenan Allen is back. Alistair, how did you feel about this? Because for you, this could be 2 seriously bad happenings in very quick succession, given how you got rid of Keenan so harshly when he left to go and play with your boy Caleb Williams.
But, my friend, I did say on the last show, for the right price, you have to be logical. It's all about rationality, right? And to borrow another Harborism, better today than you were yesterday. Better tomorrow than you were today. It's hard not to acknowledge that Keenan Allen makes the wide receiver room better. Think about it this way. 1 year for up to $8.5 million. We were talking about, again, thanks to Kyle for this idea, we were talking about Cooper Kupp for 3 years, 45 mil. We were talking about Devontae Adams, 2 years, 44 mil. Getting Keenan in for that 1 year at $8.5 million seems like pretty good value, Jack. And this made me think of a guy who's become persona non grata, Vince McMahon. The steadfast, brutal commerciality of saying, do you know what? I don't care what happened in the past and that we might have had a bit of a stoush and you left. I'm all about the business and the organization of the team, and this move just makes sense. So I'm not going to take it to heart, and I'm going to try and channel that energy and decide this is the right move for the football team. And if you liked him, if you had an emotional connection to Keenan, obviously this is going to be great for you as a fan and for Justin Herbert too.
It's great for the organisation. Keenan Allen deserves a player like Keenan Allen. I think it's good for... Anyway, we're Aussies. We have a little bit of a different opinion on one player that stays with the one team, the whole idea of loyalty, no matter through thick and thin, whereas the business-oriented America, NFL, maybe there is a little bit more of that fluidity when it comes to loyalty. But Alistair, I do have a question for you, because when I was looking at what Keenan Allen did last year with Caleb Williams, you know, we're not going to be expecting him to be the ceiling lifting, you know, long shot, deep threat. But a lot of his work and some of the best of his work he's done, you know, within 10 yards of scrimmage. How do you see, and can you enlighten us on any formations or any way that we could see, you know, a heavy personnel set with Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey on the field? Are we kind of, if they are on the field at the same time, are we kind of communicating that this is going to be a short pass or it's going to be a run, or is it a little bit more dynamic than that?
I think Keenan is versatile enough still as a blocker that you're not giving away its pass when he's on the field. I think you could still send him out there in 12 personnel if you just want your two receivers playing outside. And I think Ladd could do it as well. You could have Keenan and Ladd as your two prominent guys.
Can I just last year at Chicago was his worst blocking season of his career.
Well, it was his worst season in many respects, Jack. So maybe I'm trying to work out, was it he wasn't adequately prepared and this year will be different? Is it scheme and coaching, just an effort and want to, as Americans like to say, in that climate? Wasn't motivated for the whole season? I don't know. But if you're right, if he's actually just a worse blocker and because I think he's a worse route runner. What I saw at Chicago was he gets clamped now by corners and doesn't get open for the first 2.5 seconds if you're playing him out as a Z or as an X receiver. And I thought he really needs that slot more than ever at this stage of his career to have more of a two-way go, more option routes. And then does that, Jack, start to take away from how you want to use Ladd? If it's third down, is Ladd your guy in the slot, or is Keenan, or is Aronde Gadsden? These are the things that Greg Roman has to work out. And do you trust Greg Roman to utilize these guys in the best way to maximize fewer targets?
He's arguably the antithesis to what a Greg Roman receiver almost is, you know. He is, I think, as you say, he's a predominantly slot. I mean, he had his best game last year, 141 yards, average of, you know, yards per reception of 16 against Detroit. Not a great defense. We know that, especially later. This was in round 16, and he was in the slot. That's where he played predominantly. For most of last year, he was playing in the slot. Now, he moved around the formation, don't get me wrong. But unless they have this idea that Ladd McConkey is a gadget do-it-all, he can go deep, he can go short. I just feel that we're going to be selling Ladd a little bit short if we ask him to do all that, because as much as I love Ladd McConkey, and let it be known here, I'm not saying Ladd McConkey's not a good player, but he's not that good to be, I can go everywhere. I can go deep, I can go short, I can go mid. I just don't think he's that good, Alistair. Am I wrong in saying that? Or am I selling Ladd a bit short?
You might be selling him a bit short. I think it's reasonable to think he's maybe not going to hit your Justin Jefferson level being a downfield winner as much, just because he's a little thinner and shorter, potentially. But man, his contested catch rate was still above 50%. He made a lot of plays down the field. I'm not gonna doubt the guy because he's such a professional. Who knows? But I do worry slightly that only one of them is going to be the 3rd and 4 target from the slot running the pivot route, right? The classic, man coverage. I like this matchup. This guy on the slot cornerback, on the nickel. And who's it going to be? Is it going to be Keenan, the guy who's done it for 10 years as a Charger, or is it going to be the new young gun lad? But we're in the weeds. I think great move for this season after Mike Williams left. It made sense, mate.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Do we trust Greg Roman to put them in some little option routes and to line them up on the same side in a bunch formation and then have one rub the other one off and go whoop, 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 that fun stuff. Maybe that's the sound Greg Roman makes in the box. Have one rub
the other one off. Jack is getting himself in all sorts of trouble here, talking deep in X and O's without the help of Gen AI at this time.
Yeah, correct. So anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about David Sharp at all? We haven't seen him play.
I don't want to talk about him.
There's been nothing much. That's
maybe before we get into the game, joint practices were cancelled. They were meant to go ahead today with the Rams, and Popper reported you've got the first team offense going against the second team defense, and the first team offense shredding the Chargers' second team defense. Herbert 6 touchdowns. And then conversely, you've got your first team defense just kicking the shit out of Taylor Heineke and co. Mack had a strip sack. Taib still had a pick 6. Dayon Henley had a pick 6. But these guys getting in the necessary practice against different teams, iron sharpen iron, or, is this preseason maybe making a fool of us all?
Well, I'm going to put it back on you, Alistair, and I'm going to say something about Jesse Minter. Is Jesse Minter everything that we wanted in Brandon Staley, but Brandon Staley is not Jesse Minter?
Absolutely.
Because I see there's a clear difference between how the defense is training and playing versus how the offense is playing and training. Even with the non-starters and the deeper guys, we seem to be a little bit one-sided in the way that before we get into the game, I just feel like I had this revelation is that Jesse Minter even looks like Brandon Staley. He's young. He's got a little bit of shadow, likes wearing a baseball cap, and he is everything we wanted Staley to be. He led the number 1 scoring defense last year. He's created a DB university because I'm sure we'll get into some of the players. Like when you look at now safety and quarterback, there are guys just having these incredible games that you go, oh, I didn't even know this guy, 2 weeks ago. So it's bizarre. And maybe all this stuff, and maybe that adds to go full circle. Maybe this brings it back to Slater that we haven't signed anyone. We haven't made a reaction because just of the quality of the defense we have here. And maybe that is kind of maybe paper over the cracks a little bit for having Slater leave and Keenan Allen come back.
Either Joe Ortiz and his front office staff are that much better than Telesco and his, and they're finding diamonds in the rough everywhere, or this coaching staff is just the best in the NFL by a mile, whether it's Steve Clinkscale and Adam Fuller, the new safety coach, and Jesse Minter, or maybe it's just both. Maybe you have great scheme, great front office, fantastic teaching, motivated players. It's awesome. You're not seeing anything that doesn't make you think this team is not going to go out and be the exact same as it was last year. And it doesn't matter who you roll out, they're going to be a top 10 defense. It is sensational and exciting.
Yep. And to answer your question after that, I think it's a great decision to cancel Rams training. I think it's fantastic. We're beaten up. Iron's sharpening our own iron. We don't need your iron, McVay. Piss off. Freaking hell, the LA team. You don't belong here. We do. Oh, they've won a Super Bowl. We haven't. Let's get into this game a little bit. What did we win? 27-13, I believe that was the score. I must admit, I was ducking in and out of this game. I watched the 40 minutes, and then I watched intermittently the long broadcast. But Alistair, I'm going to put it on you first. Before I put it on you though, about where you want to start. Maybe let's start with the offense, and I'll let you take it. But I do have a worry list and a happy list for both sides of the ball, and maybe we can talk through some of these players as we get into the analysis a little bit. But your overarching view of the offense, a little bit of a harder watch than it was in the Hall of Fame game, dare I say?
Yes, it 100% it was. So the first thing I would say is it was promising to see Trey Lance deliver a second performance where he was competent and didn't make bad decisions. He might not have passed the ball as efficiently as we did against the Lions, but the offensive line didn't hold up very well. What he did instead this time was take off with his legs. And Jack, what did the Chargers beat reporter say to Harbaugh in the press conference? What does it mean when you have a QB who can go get first downs with his legs, coach? If I ever get a media pass in the future and I'm told I have to ask that question, Jack, I'm ripping it up. But he played all right. I thought he played all right. And I thought the running back group is one of those groups, Jack, where, like you say, I'm waiting for the running back who doesn't look good at the moment. It is a cutthroat battle. This time, enter Rocket Sanders, the UDFA. Last week, we're talking about Nico Reed. This week, it's Rocket Sanders saying, hey, I can see Kamani Vidal's looking good and Hassan Haskins is looking good. And even Naheem Hines, straight off the jet ski, is looking pretty good. I've got to get healthy. And he just dominated, my friend. He looked great.
Yeah. I think this is normally used as in a negative way, but I said it last time on the show, is that Trey Lance is our canary in the coal mine. And at the moment, there is no gas whatsoever. He is happy in his little cage, tweeting a song as the rest of the team is at the coal face and working. How's that for an analogy? There we go.
Love it.
He is the sign of what Harbaugh can instill in a player that clearly has had a tough kind of transition into the NFL. And what did he say this week? Is, hey, I'm in a place I love to learn. I love to be taught. This is the place to do it. And so you talk about the depth of the running back room, or every single week there's another player that just bounces off the page, bounce off the screen. I'm not reading the game. Is that this is the confidence that these guys have in this culture that Harbaugh is instilling. But I must admit, what I did like from Lance is that he didn't take off with his legs in a designed run. And the one thing that I always hated about Easton Stick, and the reason why he hung on our roster for so long, is because there seemed to be all these designed runs in the preseason. Oh, this guy's actually really good. We could use him as a wildcat quarterback. The guy couldn't throw for shit. Right? And there's another guy we've got to talk about that is maybe in that pool as well. But Trey Lance, going through his reads, his throwing technique and his decision-making is still a work in progress. But my Lord, when you actually see a proper athlete run and sprint, not saying that Justin Herbert is not, but Trey Lance is just that little bit more of that, track athlete than Justin Herbert is. So, no, Trey Lance was fun to watch. But
well, let me ask you, Taylor, on Trey.
Yes.
First on Trey Lance. And I've seen online, quite funnily, people suggesting that Harbaugh wanted Lance for a reason, to say F you to the Niners. The Niners fired me. I'm going to bring in Trey Lance. I'm actually going to make him pretty good.
That's good.
That's good. But Trey Lance still, I think what you see he struggles with a bit is his accuracy at the intermediate to deep levels. So in the 2 games he's played, with passes attempted more than 10 yards downfield, he's 4 of 11. 63 yards and a touchdown. No picks, but just missing some of those things with the accuracy. You can weave Heineke into this response, but how do you feel if Trey Lance is the Chargers' backup quarterback for the entire NFL season?
Oh, I think, for me, it's a no-brainer. After what we saw from Heineke, started the game. And I honestly think Harbaugh took him out because Harbaugh didn't see us even being slightly competitive on offense with him at quarterback, even with some of the second and, guys pushing for selection on the offensive line. Would I feel confident for Trey Lance to walk into a game and we're up maybe 2 scores and we have to keep the lead? Possibly if we're up, but if we're down, perhaps not. Does he fit the mold of another San Francisco quarterback that Harbaugh may have taught and had lead them to a Super Bowl in 1 year? I think he does. There are shades of Colin Kaepernick there, but you're right. He needs to be schemed. He needs scheme to help him make easy throws. The touchdowns that we have seen have been relatively easy. Mind you, though, there was a touchdown that he threw that was pretty good when it was into a very tight window. I can't remember who it was. Who was that? It was into a very, very tight window, or am I imagining something?
Last week against the Lions, he fit one into KLS.
That's right. He fit one in pretty tight. So I think it was, yeah.
He got one with his legs this week, taking advantage of that Brandon Staley soft defense. He was like, okay, you're going to do it again. Whoop. Going to do it again. Whoop. Clever.
But what about DJ Ugalele? I think that's how his name is. Because, man, talk about throwing deep. That man can throw a ball.
He can seriously make it spin, man. And again, this is Harbaugh just tapping into those college connections. I don't know how much you know about Uiagalelei, but he was
not much because I can't pronounce his name correctly. So there you go.
I don't know. So he's a California guy, St. John Bosco High School, 5-star recruit, Samoan descent. He was meant to be the, Trevor Lawrence, and he was that kind of recruit, right? Goes to Clemson, 3 years at Clemson, looking pretty good, like big time player. Kind of in his last year at Clemson, no good, and they benched him in their ACC championship game for Cade Klubnik, who's going to be a big name next year. And he spent his last 2 college seasons moving about, a year at Oregon State, a year at Florida State. So he's seen as the prodigy who never developed. And Harbaugh goes, okay, I recruited this guy, come be our QB3. That 49-yard pass to DeLayvon Campbell, my goodness, you can almost hear it
fizzling through the
If
air.
he keeps playing like this, he might not make it through to the practice squad. If he keeps playing whenever he comes on, he looks this competent, you might have to start thinking about carrying 3 quarterbacks on your 53, or another team out there is going to see this and say, oh, this is the 5-star recruit who looks like he's worked it out.
Are we reaching this promised land where we always thought we might get to? In the preseason, we're seeing these players who are performing well. All of a sudden, we're carrying 3 quarterbacks, and you know what? Week 4 turns around, someone's lost their QB1, their QB2's not really it, and they go, hey, Joe, I need a quarterback, man. I need Trey Lance. He looked really good. I'll give you a 3rd for him. And Ortiz goes, chef's kiss. That's my soup. That's the soup that I've made. It's the soup du jour, baby. And all of a sudden we start accumulating these picks for guys that, are proven, not unproven, but they have that confidence after being in the Harbaugh organization. Are we getting there? I don't know.
Well, the Chargers ended up using, I think, the pick they got from the trade with the Patriots to go get Keenan Allen. So when you end up, as part of the Ladd McConkey trade. So when you end up with this strategy of gathering up these picks, you can do this kind of stuff. You can take better players in the draft. You can trade for vets. Grow, develop, trade, man. It's a winning mantra.
It's just exciting because, yes, as much as someone like Puna really hurt to lose, and all the power to him going to get paid. But what does that signal to other free agents or guys that are playing and say, I'm actually having a pretty average year. I'm in a contract year. I need to make some cash. I go to a system or a culture that values me and I'm going to get developed and I feel good and I get played in the position where I want and then I go and perform. And hey, I love my time at the Chargers, but I'm going to go and get paid. Like that's how you build that money ball. It's not really money ball. It's more of that culture building culture. And yes, it sucks to see really good players walk, but I think that's what the Ravens have always done. And you look at what Philly do. They just let their big guys after contracts walk and they just continue to restock those ranks. I know we're sort of digressing a little bit, but I have a name and I've got my worry list and my happy list on offense, Alistair. The name is Trey Harris. Where do you think he sits? Is he on my worry list or is he on my happy list? Where do you think he sits?
He's definitely on your worry list. He also had a couple drops of practice. He's showing a couple of the tendencies I saw in his old Miss tape, to be completely honest, where the down-to-down consistency in his route running isn't always there. I thought he had an opportunity in this game. There was a red zone target, I'm pretty sure, where he just wasn't quite in the right place at the right time. As a result, doesn't really get a chance to complete the pass. And he was out there for 28 snaps. So 1 target, 0 catches. He didn't do anything in the Hall of Fame game. He's definitely someone to start to watch. And I think this is what to expect with rookies, Jack. And we saw it with Keandre Lambert-Smith as well. This week, it's 1 target, 0 catches. I think this is what you expect most of the time with rookies. They're not Ladd McConkey. They're Quentin Johnston in his rookie year.
Yes, Trey Harris was indeed on my worry list, because there's another name that was on my happy list, and that someone was Brendan Rice, because I thought he actually did okay. PFF would suggest that he had a better game than Trey Harris and only playing a couple more snaps than him. What can we take away? Justin Herbert's not throwing the football. It's not the first offense, the first team offensive line. He doesn't, Trey Harris doesn't necessarily have the other guys out there to make him look good, but would I expect a second round pick to look a little better than he has? I would. And KLS shining in the first week, not so much this week. He's on my happy list. I'll give you another name. Your man, Gadsden. Which list is he on? Is he on my happy list or is he on my worry list?
I'd have him on the list with the emoji where the face is just straight up like that. It's the completely ambivalent list. But if I have to choose, I'm going to say he's on your happy list because of a couple of clean snatches this week.
No, he's not. He's on my worry list, I think. And perhaps it's more of a, let me change this on you a little bit. Perhaps it's a little more of a worry list about the tight end room. Because I think a lot of people, maybe it's just our very insular TDU and powder keg chat that has a lot of hopes on a Ronde Gadsden to be this guy. And perhaps we're missing the forest through the trees a little bit and to go, has our tight end room actually gotten any better from last year in terms of those pass catching weapons? So my worry is that, yes, he caught a couple, but there are a couple of drops, looked a little slow on some of them, looked a little bit confused from me anyway. But there's another name, and Tucker Fisk. Tucker Fisk seems to have come back, and he is going to be your blocking tight end. The man can block, and he really started to show at the end of last year that he was a man that would get his nose dirty and do the work that was needed. I thought he was very good, actually, whenever I've seen him on the field in this preseason. So maybe the tight end room is not as bad as we think, but Tucker Fisk is not catching balls.
No, I think that you will see that it is quite different with Herbert as the quarterback and your first team offensive line. And the reason why is I saw a play where Gadsden's on Y cross and Lance just straight up didn't see him. He's wide open. If he hits him in stride, it's going to be 10 to 15 yards after the catch. And instead he targeted the guy to the other side of the field. I think I agree with you that he still has to work on things. He's a bit choppy in his movements. But I think he's going to make splash plays, man. I think Herbert is going to stand there, get a bit of time, see him coming open down the field, and give him a chance to use those really good hands that he has. And same with Tyler Conklin. Taylor Heineke airmailed him in the first quarter. He was going to get a 15-yard crosser, and all of a sudden Conklin's like, cool, thanks, dude. Now everyone thinks I'm shit. Off I go. I've played my 5 snaps. So there's that wait and see, but I understand why you're at least a little hesitant based on what's been shown so far through 2 games.
I don't know. Are you putting him? Are you actually giving him meaningful snaps week 1 with Disley, Conklin, Kraft? Is he actually going to get the amount of time on the field? Is he going to be trusted? That's why he's on my.
He's going to start like Stone Smart. I'm with you. You're looking at 5 snaps in week 1. having to earn maybe a few third downs, deliberate schemed up plays, red zone, and then he's going to have to earn more and more. I agree. He's down in the pecking order. It's what you want for a 5th round tight end, though.
I know, but is he good enough to actually come on and perform in those? So that's the thing. Anyway, a couple. Do you want a couple? Do you want a couple more names? Branson Taylor is on my worry list. Branson Taylor didn't look too good. Yeah, I know, and he's injured, and he's big. I mean, there's not much I can expect out of him, but all of a sudden, this tackle position and the depth of tackle becomes very important, which is why Ryan Nelson and Corey Stewart are also on my worry list. Not that they were ever going to play meaningful snaps. Heineke, we've discussed. Andre James, I thought he might be popping off a little more and being relatively a little bit more quality. Hard for offensive linemen to look good, I know, in those depths of preseason games. I do actually have Kamani Vidal on there. Not that I'm worried about him, but I actually almost prefer the man you spoke about earlier in Rocket. And obviously,
I don't know what they're going to do in that
Najee
room.
Harris, but and Najee Harris is the big worry. As well.
It's not looking too good at the moment. I mean, he's sort of doing drills again, but look, but to turn it positive, what you are still seeing, despite some of these things, is a team who are going out there and playing with maximal effort. You see how excited they are on the sidelines. We can get to him. Eric Rodgers has the game of his life before hurting himself at the end. But that pick 6, the energy, Dayon Henley's on the mic doing his live feed cross to Dan Fouts in the booth. He's so excited. They're all running, jumping up and down. It's good to see this competition for spots, guys who can make the roster. Kamani Vidal, really good against the Lions this week. Unfortunately, Josh Kaltenberger, your man, decides he's going to forget to block the blitzing linebacker twice in a row. And poor Vidal just gets whacked about 3 yards into the backfield. And he's thinking, man, look at my stats. I'm trying to make the team. And I walk away with 6 carries for 16 yards. 2 of them I've been hit 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Buster.
And I've strategically left Kaltenberger off the list because I thought he was going to be good, but he would have to be on the worry list too. Not that ever he was going to do anything meaningful anyway. I know I was being negative, but I thought we were so positive last week that maybe we need to kind of even things out a little bit. A bit of 50-50, give and take. You don't want to be super positive.
If it is happening, I don't know what that accent was, but I liked it. It's happening to quite a few of these rookies, though, because Trey Harris is having to fight for prominence with the competition in the roster. Kyle Kennard hasn't practiced since the Hall of Fame game. In pops Caleb Murphy and says, "Brother, I'm gonna try either steal your job here or force the team to carry 5 edge rushers." I can't see Kennard getting cut as a 4th round pick, but he's done nothing so far to deserve a spot, has he?
Well, let's go. So let's jump to the defense, and this is a little bit more but my happy list on the defense: Rodgers, Jefferson, Reed, and this guy Mickens, Muckens. My
Superstar.
Lord. So he is closing in. I believe I read that he's closing in. Is he closing in one of the highest PFF grades in a preseason by DB, or was that Rodgers? Maybe that was Rodgers for the game. But Mickens at the moment, he's played over 100 snaps at 101, and he's rated through those at 92 per PFF. Like, that's unbelievable. Amani Johnson, Caldwell we need to talk about. Kendall Williamson talking about DB University. Naquan Jones, and to round out my happy list was Caleb Murphy. So where did you want to start on that list? You've already mentioned Reed and Rodgers a little bit, but I'll leave. Who do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about how the team actually decides who they're going to carry in the DB room, because all the guys you mentioned, to me, are players fighting for your final couple DB spots. And they're all playing great. Kendall Williamson, Mickens with a beautiful sideline pursuit early of that red zone tackle of Valus Jones. He hits hard. His form as a tackler,
and he's
making open field tackles. He's a good football player. But the guys who maybe aren't impressing me as much, I know Minter shouted him out today, but Ben St. Just, he's been hurt, and he was the guy who stuffed up that blown coverage early where they didn't see the receiver coming across in motion and he's looking the wrong way. Bang, 15 yards, man coverage. That's your guy, dude. You're the outside corner. You can't do that in the regular season. You literally, you can't do that once. Should this guy be sitting there as your guaranteed fourth cornerback? Ja'Sir Taylor, same deal. So I love seeing guys like Eric Rodgers and Nico Reed play really well. But the guys, the presumptive players making the team, including Cam Hart, still hurt.
Yep.
They're not out there, and they're not practicing because we're not practicing the Rams against the Rams. And how are they going to be looking in week 1 on the field?
Well, competitors welcome. And at least this is a spot where we have this depth, as we have been talking about most of this episode. So, how bad was the Rodgers injury? Do we know? Obviously, he was. Have we heard anything?
We would know by now if it was some kind of season ender. He was off to the side today at training, and that's all Papa said. So fingers crossed. It looked like some kind of ankle, right? He could barely put weight on. He's quite a thin, rakish figure, but hopefully nothing too serious.
But okay, let's just look at the safety in the cornerback rooms. And so you're starting 2 safeties. Who are they going to be? It's obviously Derwin James, but who's is it Molden or is it Gilman? Or is it Tony? I think it's not going to be Tony.
Well, they will play 3 safeties more than any team in the NFL. Last year, I think they were second. So but I think it's a bit stupid the way the followers and coaches of the sport refer to this. They say they're playing 3 safeties on the field, but they're using Derwin as a nickel slot defender, but they're calling him a safety. He's not a safety, but they will have Derwin, Gilman, Molden on the field all the time, I reckon.
Yeah.
The question is, what do you do with Triquez Bridges, who's looking
He's
bad?
struggling. Yep.
He's looking bad.
Yeah.
Outside corner, I mean, Dante Jackson looks like he's probably a starter, and then it's Cam Hart and Taib still and swapping around with Derwin.
Yep. But I mean, where do you go? Do you carry Jefferson as a 4th safety? Do you? I mean, the man's
5th.
playing.
He's going to have to be a 5th safety. Think about it.
Well, who's going to be?
RJ Mickens.
Gilman. Oh, Mickens. Okay, so you're going to add. So do you reckon Mickens is above Jefferson at the moment?
I think that would be reprehensible to take the guy who, how old is he? 35, 33?
Yeah.
Tony Jefferson over. You found this guy in the 5th round and he looks like a steal. You can't possibly cut him. I think you just have to risk Tony Jefferson to waivers and hope the other teams know he wants to stay in LA as a practice squad guy.
But you kind of know that Jefferson is not going to move anywhere because he's a hardball guy. He loves playing there. That's why he's there. So do you just put Jefferson there, knowing that he's not going to move, even if he gets, even if someone's interested, and you just put Mickens there?
And worst case scenario, Jack, if Tony Jefferson were to actually get signed by another team, damn, Kendall Williamson is your practice squad safety who looks like a special teams ace. We are so deep all of a sudden at safety.
And so Reed and Rodgers, are they getting called up? I mean, or is it you've got Still, Hart, who was the other one you said that was going to be starting?
Dante Jackson, the free
agent. St. Just, and then you've got that. How many CBs are we going to carry? 5, 6?
Yeah, you'd think it's 5 or 6. And Ja'Sir Taylor's fighting for that position. Triquez Bridges is fighting that for position. And so are these other young guys. Eric Rodgers, Nico Reed.
Yeah, I mean,
Ben St. Just is going to get a gig just because he's a big guy and they spend a bit more money on him. But man, the preseason is they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is. They said, who makes the team? You know who makes the team because the best players do. How do you know who the best players are? Because they play the best. How do you know who plays the best? Because they're the best players. And we're watching, guys. The best players are the ones with a 95 PFF grade and some of the best interceptions you've seen in your whole life.
I guess, listen, I feel like we need to talk about the big man in Jamari Caldwell. Something that he's doing stuff that I didn't think he could. I mean, the knockout of him on college was that he couldn't finish particularly well, but he has got some power and some speed for a big man. On the flip side, on my worry list is that I haven't seen anything from the guy that I said I was a bit unsure of, if Justin Eboigbe. Caldwell has come in and completely, in my opinion, trounced whatever Justin Eboigbe is doing defensively. So what say you in this? Let's talk about Caldwell first. What's your read of him so far?
Stupendous. Can I just say utterly unbelievable. He looks like he should have gone in the first round. Yeah. Not even exaggerate. He looks like a first round nose tackle.
DT. Yeah.
And look, I'll be the first to say, I thought his sack was a coverage sack. I thought Tyler Shugg held the ball too long. Still good hustle and effort to finish the play. I was more impressed with that touchdown saving tackle of Rattler in the red zone, where Jasir Taylor, and he comes flying off the screen to push him, and he's a yard short of the touchdown. And in the running game, got to shout out the Chargers run game. 15 design runs the Saints had, 29 yards allowed. Less than 2 yards a pop. Caldwell and Naquan Jones were central. Naquan Jones,
he looks good too. Looking all right too. Yeah, they're just all of a sudden we're talking about this depth, not only, up top in the ceiling and out wide, but also in the trenches. So granted, it's against a quarterback room that possibly could be the worst I've ever seen. The worst I've ever seen from the Saints. Is there a worse quarterback room in the league? I'm not too sure. By the by, Caldwell and Naquan Jones doing the work that they should, and that's eating up them sacks. Eboigbe, what's going on? I watched him. I didn't see much at all. I really worry that he is a tweener, and he's going to struggle with the power at the NFL level.
I mean, Minter might say he was part of the unit that kept them to 2 yards per carry, but that would be, I think, overly generous and maybe a bit evasive. I'm not seeing him get knocked back. I'm not seeing like him being driven backwards.
No,
I think the line's being held, but he's not doing anything that stands out. Put it that way. I have not gone during this preseason to preserve my sanity and energy for the regular season. I've stayed away from the coach's film. So I'm not sitting there going, oh, how's he going on every rep? Oh yeah, good, stack, shed, strain. No, I'm eyeballing it on the broadcast, and he's not really making any impact on the ball carrier, and he's not producing any pressure. And so far, Jack, you have been right. I know that's what you like to hear. Jack was right. Jack is always right, man. But maybe the last thing on the defense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you mentioned Cole Kennard. He's on my worry list. What did you see, and what are you worried about there? Because you mentioned him earlier.
Well, no, just more that we don't know what we've got yet. And even though there are some positive reports from camp, I thought in the Hall of Fame game, I think I said on the last show, he didn't get any pressures from his 15 pass rush reps, couldn't really push the tackle back, and now he's hurt. And the guy who's come in, Caleb Murphy, has 2 sacks. He used the same pass rush move he did in the Hall of Fame game where he didn't quite finish, the old cross chop for the YouTube watchers. That's exactly how to do it. Just cross chop. And he got a sack with that. And the other one was a long arm move to your buddy Dylan Radins, allowed both sacks. Yeah. And Caleb Murphy,
he's my boy.
He's going to make the team. He's going to make the teams. He's too good. He's good on teams, on special teams, and he's affecting the passer. So overall, it was a weird game, Jack. I thought, I can't stand the broadcast booth when it's Dan Fouts and Noah Eagle. The first 5 snaps of the game, they've got dual screen showing the end of the Chicago Dolphins game.
Unbelievable.
What are we doing, NFL? We're paying our hard-earned to watch this stuff on NFL Network. And then I'm having to listen to Dan Fouts and Noah Eagle talking about Oregon and Syracuse. There's some lingerie on the field after Heinz Miller makes a defender miss. I'm like, speaking of which, not a great. Is he on your naughty or your happy list? Naheem Hines.
Naheem Hines, but for muffing the punt. Yeah, I know.
2 muff punts.
I know, but then he did an incredibly good pass blocking rep where a guy was airborne. I can't remember the rush, but he was airborne, blocked it, and it led to, I think it was a Trey Lance run from memory. It pushed him out. It was a big 20-yard run. So, I mean, again, I know we're jumping around here, but the blocking in the backfield from the running backs was something that was great, vastly improved last year, and I think it's continued this year. Both Haskins and, I mean, they're just experienced guys that can block. So, but let's be honest, we don't want him catching punts anytime soon.
No, and that gives probably a breather for a guy, another one of these guys who you're just making the 53, Darius Davis. You do nothing on offense. You're not really out there in the preseason games. There are a few, it's a weird mix. I think we really are going to see how much the coaches and the front office value performance in preseason games versus the extra year, and we know what you did in the regular season last year, because some of these dudes have not played as well as your Caleb Murphys and the other guys we've touched on the show.
On a wider level, then, I mean, we're seeing first teamers, especially on offense around the league, Burrow, Chase, they're taking the field. How are we feeling about not having any games where any starters play? Are we missing something, or are we? It's this weird conundrum that we have every single offseason. Where are you falling with that this year after seeing some of the performances from some of the starters in other teams?
I think I trust Harbaugh's method. I thought he'd be a big time get guys snaps in the preseason right?
That's what I thought as well. Yeah.
Do you think he'd be like that? But he's quite cerebral. I think now we're not going to see anybody, right? After what's happened to Rashawn Slater, good luck risking Derwin and Mack and Herbert in the preseason. But it just shows injuries can happen anytime, any place. Poor Rashawn Slater does it as practice. And actually, before we go, you're going to have to tell me, you're a big fella, Jack. Why did Alt, Bozeman, and Pipkins think it was okay to behave like the Three Stooges on national television during Justin Herbert's interview? Take me into the mind of a big man.
Okay, I can't take you into the mind of those big men, but what I can take you into the mind of is that there is now, I've never seen players do that to Herbert before. I know that Justin Herbert has always played games with a camera on social media, like sort of hiding and disappearing and that kind of stuff. What that signaled to me is, for the first time that I can remember, because I don't think I've ever seen Herbert openly have a relationship with his offensive lineman. When he was mic'd up and they would talk about Joe Alt, talk about pizza, and there was something like on cheese, some pasta, Joe Alt seems to be this really weird cat too, similar to Justin Herbert. And for me, they are just peas in a pod. Joe Alt will keep Justin Herbert a little bit jovial because he's kind of that weird guy, but both competitive beasts. And listen, if I'm going blue sky thinking, super blue sky thinking, and I'm forgetting about
Take us there,
Slater,
Jack. Take me there.
I'm forgetting about Slater. I'm going that Slater, might represent some old regime. Joe Alt is the first draft pick of the new regime. He was one of the best tackle prospects in PFF memory and one of the best big men to be drafted. He had a great year last year. But why not go into the future? And I know this might ruffle some feathers. With Joe Alt at left tackle, go back to the draft and find your right tackle in 2026. And you've got this Herbert Alt for 10 years, both All-Pros for multiple years, both Hall of Famers. It just feels right. Both weird guys, both kind of strange, both take the mickey out of each other, but they have this relationship on and off the field that it's 1 in a million. It's kind of that, who was the center for the Colts with Peyton Manning?
Jeff
was their
Saturday.
coach for a while. Jeffrey Saturday, that type of stuff. That's when I saw that they're taking the piss, is what we say in Australia, out of your quarterback. I like that. I think I like it a lot. And I thought it's funny. It's good. They're having fun. Joy, Alistair. Joy.
Yep.
That's what we want. Joy equals winning. Until you lose.
Well, look,
I've had a lot of joy. I've had a lot of joy talking to you tonight, my friend. We always miss Andy,
Yes.
but I know he'll be listening, and I know I'll be back soon. We've still got 2 more of these preseason games. At some point, we'll get into our final opponent series. We may have a guest. We're still working on one. Shh, we won't tell you who it is, but we've got a bit up our sleeve before we hit that big week 1 in Brazil.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. I think that's it. You're wrapping up the show. Very nicely there, Alistair. Thank you to all our listeners. Follow us at TDU_. What is it? I can't even remember.
Chargers.
At TDU_Chargers. I'm Jack. You're Alistair. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evenings. Good afternoon and good night.
Bye.
Back pedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it! Zigzag, 10, 5, high step, touchdown! San Diego!
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!